Indie games, I talk about them all the time, but there really are quite a number, so here are some hidden gems you might have missed from this year so far, which are under the arbitrarily determined number of 1000 Steam reviews. And if you want to keep up with all things indie games, you are in the right place. So let's begin with Seablip, a pixel art open world sandbox crafting title that seems to be taking inspiration from games like Terraria, but also Sid Meier's Pirates, where you have a home island which you can build, upgrade, farm and fish on, but can also take to the open seas as captain of your own vessel to take on bounties or to assault outposts. This is currently in early access and feels like such a game, so do expect some rough edges and incomplete content, but the foundation is there, so at least keep it on your wish list for now. Indie devs do what Nintendo don't, since despite fan requests for a Zelda maker, which as a side note, apparently Echoes of Wisdom was at one point in time, Nintendo has yet to release a build your own dungeon kind of game like Mario Maker, so enter Quest Master, a vibrant pixel art title that does exactly that, allowing you to create and share your dungeons as well as play other players' creations. The developers are responsive and have been releasing frequent updates and is pretty polished and bug-free for an early access title. This video is brought to you by Aura of Worlds, a creative, tactical roguelite platformer which just released out of early access after more than 6 years, drastically evolving and changing for the better in that period. So if you were ever curious about this game, now is the perfect time to jump in. The critical factor of this game is simply the amount of variety it gives you to tackle situations. For example, if there is a chest across a pit of lava, you're able to use a grappling hook to get to it, bend time and jump on enemies to get there, use a boomerang to retrieve said item, or even to blow the entire lava pit up with an explosive so that you can safely make your way across, although do take cover from the flying embers. The same applies for combat situations where you just have so much at your disposal, like using enemies against each other, so that it is always fun to experiment and try in this game, which, combined with more than 6 primary world types and 14 randomized level themes, results in plenty of replayability. There's also meta progression in between runs, where you can unlock world shortcuts, new items and more, with the 1.0 release including some light story elements, new unique NPCs to rescue which can then help you, an entirely new world since its last update, and of course the epic final boss fight, so there's plenty to dig into with this game. If interested, do buy the game on either Steam or Switch via the link in the descriptions below. Want to install some malware on your computer? Well, not real malware, but Malware the game?
Hey man, what the f?
Now this might come with a little bit of a question mark around it, but essentially it is a game about trying not to install bad things on your computer which will cause it to crash, where you need to figure out which button to click and which checkbox to uncheck. Apparently, the younger generation that grew up with apps are not familiar with how file directories and computers work, so this might be an oddly educational title for them, and it's just a weird, unique thing. The follow-up to the black and white mecha RPG Wolfstride is titled Zet Zillions, changing up the combat and structure into a roguelite deck builder, while remaining in the same universe, but has some of the most interesting designs and abilities, and also some of that same attitude that the original is known for. It has some cool ideas as well, since you are battling entire planets with your own planet ship named Baby Violence, and can do things like fire your crew members at enemies, being very enjoyable, but perhaps not as deep as something like Slay the Spire, but still, if you love the genre, this is worth a play.
Fire!
A newer release that probably slips under your radar is Flowstone Saga, a Tetris-based JRPG from the developer of the pixel art roguelike Tangle Deep, retaining a similar beautiful pixel art style but changes things up in terms of mechanics. This has your classic JRPG setup as you explore the mysterious oceans and islands, fighting enemies along the way through what else but the use of Tetris. It is a little bit more complex than that, of course, since you have elemental powers, can use items, sabotage enemy attacks, and have to use the yellow link crystals to build up heat for more damage, giving you additional factors to consider all in real time as the pieces are falling. This is a nice alternative to the Match 3 RPG, although understandably might be less popular since there is a higher level of skill required since it is in real time, but it is a pretty cleverly made game that is going under the radar. This game might look like a title from Jeff Minter, but it is not. Rather, coming to us from the developer of the action roguelite Nova Drift, in which the arcade defense shooter Utopia Must Fall does have some interesting ideas. At its core, it is Missile Command plus Space Invaders, where you are blasting away at oncoming enemies in order to protect your base, but the upgrades are what makes it interesting, such as powering up your railgun, or to call anti-matter warheads into play, with a dark humor to the world design and writing as well. It looks awesome, and interestingly, there is no meta progression, so you will not be able to grind out this one like a roguelite, which is part of the genius of this game since it gives players something different. Speaking of different looks, here's a title that you cannot find anywhere other than indie games, since Rogue Voltage is an engineering roguelite RPG where you are placing components down on a board and then wiring them up to create combos, all while time progresses. It is very weird and unique and does take time to wrap your head around, which probably explains its relative obscurity, but if you're in the mood for something fresh and are sick of regular turn-based RPGs, this is the title to get. Surprise! I'm pretty sure no one saw this next title coming, since we also had the 1.0 release of our Adventurer Guild back in April, and while it does not look the most visually impressive, do not judge a book by its cover in this case. This combines turn-based tactical combat with a guild management aspect, where you are in charge of the Adventurers Guild and can take on various contracts to battle dangerous monsters, creating and sending out a party of heroes that will be suitable for the job, also having a bond and relationship system between the characters like in Fire Emblem, and is a must-get for fans of the genre. It was not a bad year for factory building and automation titles as well, but I want to highlight AutoForge here, since this is a 2D side-scroller as compared to the 3/4 view, top-down or first-person variants, which are a lot more common. It sure does look like Terraria in spots, where you are building a massive automated factory to gather resources from underground to craft and combine them into new items, having to construct defenses to fend off drones from the planet's automated defense system as well. Like most factory builders, this is an early access release, but the developer has been active through frequent updates and patches to the game, with it shaping up to be something special. And even while in early access, people are playing this game into the 50 to 60 hour range already, so there's certainly something to this. Another title which I'm pretty sure that the majority of you have not heard of is King of the Bridge, a chess game at its core, but in which you are playing against a troll under a bridge, who has his own special rules on how to play the game. Advanced Troll Chess, as it is called, has 20 plus new unique rules that change everything from how pieces move and what happens when certain pieces are captured, adding a delightful twist to the game made even more insane by the fact that you and your opponent can cheat. You can, of course, call out your opponent if he cheats, which means that you can then legally cheat yourself, also having multiple endings despite it still being chess at its core. As such, it is a very clever twist on the formula and should be of interest to both hardcore as well as casual chess players.
I'm bringing a basket of baked goods to my family.
Here's an adorable puzzle adventure game named Lil Guardsman, where you play as the 12-year-old stand-in castle guard at the gate, having to speak with over 100 characters and question them on why they want to enter the city, ultimately deciding on whether or not to let them in or to confiscate their goods and items. The art and animation in this is top-notch and has excellent voice acting as well, where your decisions on who to let into the kingdom will determine its fate. As such, it is similar to the indie classic Papers, Please, only a lot less depressing, with characters and writing that more resembles a comedic adventure game, being very underrated, so do give it a go.
Oh, wait, your name is Count Heinrich von Pyre?
Yes. Why?
Speaking of underrated, a unique and gorgeous real-time tactics RPG is Arco, having an awesome Mesoamerican inspiration and setting, and tells the story of 4 characters with intertwining fates, forged in bloodshed, laced with magic, and united by revenge. That is straight from the horse's mouth, so that description did entice me, and of course, their gorgeous pixel art is definitely a highlight. Combat here is the most interesting part, being real-time with pause, where you can stop the action to aim your next attack or to tell your character where to move to, but the enemy does that as well, and your attack can miss if they do not move as expected. Go check out gameplay videos to get a better idea of how this works, since this is the most unique part about the game. Another relatively new release is Cat God Wrench, a variant on the roguelite symbol builder subgenre made popular by Luck Be a Landlord, where instead of attempting to accrue as many complementary symbols as possible, you are instead choosing and placing down animals on your farm, with their position relative to the other animals, giving you the necessary rewards to please the cat god at the end of the week. There are over 100 types of animals which interact with each other in clever ways, such as carnivores eating other animals, or even ones that boost the production of neighbouring animals, and also has 7 animal family classes that come into play as well. It looks adorable and also has the equivalent of game-changing relics in the form of prop cards, and has the potential to be huge as it continues to get tweaked and updated. I've found myself leaning towards puzzle games as I get older, where there's something about thinky games that work your brain in a different way which can be rather satisfying, and if you are as well, I would highly recommend Owls of Sea and Sky. This is a Sokoban or block pushing style puzzle game, but one that is set on a series of islands, each with their own gimmicks and hazards. However, the interesting part about this game is that it is open world and non-linear, so if you get stuck, you can go explore somewhere else to poke and prod there and then come back later, with hopefully new insights on how the game works and how to clear the previous puzzle. Also, as a feature of modern puzzle games, the open world structure does hide a much larger secret, which you need to figure out, where collecting every star in this game is going to be quite the challenge. I'm a bit of a stickler for definitions, since words and how we use them matter, which is why Metroidvanias to me are always side-scrolling platformers, and no, first-person Metroidvanias don't count, which is why Crypt Custodian is in a weird spot, a 3/4 view title like a Zelda game, but with Metroidvania-style non-linearity and even the ability to jump. But whatever technical genre this falls into, this is a must-play from 2024. The combat feels great and has clever Metroidvania-style traversal ability unlocks, together with an awesome look and setting, and it's criminal that it isn't more popular. Watch this video for more of the best games of the year.